In a bit of a surprise, Louisville would battle Florida State in the ACC Championship. We're showing you the results from our 2023 simulation. And you see here, Louisville would score, tied thing up at 7. And second quarter now, Jordan Travis runs it in. Florida State will score. So it's 14-7 Seminoles. Now after some field goals, Florida State's up 17-13. Louisville would score the touchdown. It's Des Melton, who is actually not even on the team. Now that roster has been updated since then. But anyways, field goals, several field goals in this game. We're tied at 20 here in the third quarter. So Florida State would get a stop. They kick the field goal, and they go up 23-20. Now here comes Louisville on 3rd down and 6. They convert, and they're going to get into the end zone. Jaden Thompson. Louisville's up by 4. Now Florida State with it. Travis going to run the option, going to keep it, and going to score. And Florida State will take the lead, 30-27. Now Louisville on 3rd down and 11, trying to get into field goal range. They're not going to. They get stuffed. It's 4th down and 16. A must-have-it play, and they convert. First down for Louisville. They kick the field goal here to tie the game up. And we're going to go to overtime, tied at 30. And remember, I'm going to show you the entire ACC standings here in just a second. But you see Jordan Travis would run into the end zone there. It's 37-30 as we're in overtime. Louisville comes right back. They score, so we're tied at 37. All right, now, overtime number 2. Louisville with it. They get sacked, and Florida State's defense gets a big stop. They hold them to a field goal, and that means they can win the game. They can win the ACC championship with a touchdown. So here we go. Travis hands it off. They're going to take it all the way down around the 1-yard line, and then on the next play, they punch it in for the score. Florida State will beat Louisville 43-40 in overtime, in double overtime, that is, to win the ACC championship. Of course, if you followed our other simulations, you saw Florida State would go on to win the national championship. And so now we're going to show you the standings based off of these simulations so you can see how every team did in the ACC. And keep in mind, these are not our predictions. This is simply what the simulation said. And definitely some interesting results here in the ACC. We start with a big surprise at the bottom of the conference, and that's NC State going 1-7 in ACC play. They're actually, that should say 4-8 for their overall record, but still, it was a disastrous season for the Wolfpack. And I've talked about this team maybe having a bit of a down year this year, but no, I don't see them like missing out on a bowl game or anything like that. You look at if I go through all the games, their wins were UConn, VMI, Marshall, and Virginia Tech. Now, I didn't simulate all the group of 5 games, so maybe they do lose one of those and they do go 3-9. But assuming they win those games, they would actually be 4-8. So that's just my bad on that. But the conference record was the main thing here. 1-7. Just a disastrous season here for the Wolfpack. Ahead of them, Wake Forest also had a bad season. 5-7 overall, 2-6 in the ACC. So for Wake Forest, their wins would come against Elon, Vanderbilt, Old Dominion, Georgia Tech, and NC State. They did beat NC State. But yeah, a rough season there for the Demon Deacons as well. But, 5-7 for them is not crazy. The NC State one is pretty crazy. So we'll see. And again, I've said this on the other conference videos. The teams might not be right here, but this does kind of indicate how the season's probably going to go. You're going to have some surprise teams. You're going to have some disappointing teams. Maybe it's NC State. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's someone else. But someone probably is going to be a big disappointment this year in the ACC. And then we had a 5-way tie with Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. All of these teams going 3-5, 6-6 for Pittsburgh and Syracuse overall. Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Virginia Tech going 5-7. I didn't really go through all the tiebreakers because, there's really no point. But yeah, 5-way tie here, it would be pretty wild. But it's at the bottom of the conference, so it doesn't really matter. I will run through the games just in case you're wondering who they beat and who they lost to. And remember, you can actually watch all of these games, all the full games, over on the SG1 Sports 2 channel if you want to see how they played out. But Pittsburgh would have wins over Wofford, Cincinnati, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. Their losses came to North Carolina, Louisville, Notre Dame, Florida State, Boston College, and Duke. Syracuse would have wins over Colgate, Western Michigan, Army, North Carolina, Boston College, and Wake Forest. And their losses came to Purdue, Clemson, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Georgia Tech. And let's keep it going here. Georgia Tech, their games their wins were against Louisville, South Carolina State, Bowling Green, North Carolina, and Syracuse. Losses came to Ole Miss, Wake Forest, Miami, Boston College, Virginia, Clemson, and Georgia. And I think I might have missed one. So I missed Bowling Green. That was a win in there as well for them. And then for Virginia, their wins came against James Madison, which, you know, we probably really need to simulate that game. That's not a guaranteed win. But yeah, James Madison. Also, again, assuming they did beat James Madison, their wins would also have come against NC State, Boston College, William & Mary, and Georgia Tech. Losses to Tennessee, Maryland, North Carolina, Miami, Louisville, Duke, and Virginia Tech. And then we had Virginia Tech, and I'm kind of looking at the math here, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 7 losses. So Virginia Tech, their wins, Old Dominion, Marshall, Wake Forest, Syracuse, and Virginia. Losses to Purdue, Rutgers, Pittsburgh, Florida State, Louisville, Boston College, and NC State. So those were the results at the bottom of the conference. Now let's go to the top of the conference. Boston College, a bit of a surprise. So NC State, a surprise in a bad way. Boston College, a surprise in a good way. 8-4 for them. They have a really easy schedule, so this would not shock me, actually. Had wins over Northern Illinois, Holy Cross, Army, Georgia Tech, UConn, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Miami. Lost to Florida State, Louisville, Virginia, and also Syracuse. Ahead of them, we have Clemson, another surprise in a disappointing way. 5-3 in the conference, 8-4 overall. You go through the games. They beat Charleston Southern, Florida Atlantic, Florida State, Syracuse, Wake Forest, NC State, Georgia Tech, and South Carolina. Lost to Duke, Miami, Duke, Miami, Notre Dame, and North Carolina. So the tiebreakers did get them. That's why they are below Miami and North Carolina. Miami right there, also at 8-4, 5-3 in the conference. For Miami, wins would come against Miami of Ohio, Bethune-Cookman, Temple, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Virginia, NC State, and Louisville. Losses to Texas A&M, North Carolina, Florida State, and they were upset at the end of the season on the road at Boston College in a game that maybe could have got them into the ACC championship if they had won. North Carolina also 5-3, 8-4. You look at their games, and I'm circling back to Miami. Yeah, they did beat Louisville, so they actually probably would have been in, or I guess we would have had a 3-way tie. Anyways, let's circle back here to the results here for North Carolina. North Carolina would beat South Carolina, App State, Pittsburgh. Also wins over Miami, Virginia, Campbell, Clemson, and NC State. Lost to Minnesota, Syracuse, Georgia Tech, and Duke. All right, ahead of them, we've got Duke. Yeah, Duke finished number 3, actually tied for number 2 in the conference, despite going 8-4 overall. Wins over Clemson, Lafayette, UConn, NC State, Wake Forest, North Carolina, Virginia, and Pittsburgh. Lost to Northwestern, Notre Dame, Florida State, and Louisville. And then ahead of them at number 2 was Louisville, 6-2, 8-4. Like I said, they were tied for number 2. Louisville lost to, or beat Murray State, Indiana, Boston College, NC State, Pittsburgh, Duke, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. Lost to Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Miami, and Kentucky. And then our division winner and conference winner was Florida State, 11-1, 7-1 in the conference. Only loss came to Clemson. So, yeah, you look at the big picture here. I don't think Clemson's going to be that bad. I don't think NC State's going to be that bad. Otherwise, I mean, it could play out this way. It wouldn't, nothing here is crazy. And it's crazy to me how these simulations can be so realistic. But overall, another thing to take away from the ACC is how bad they were in the non-conference. This conference was by far the worst conference against the other Power 5 teams in the non-conference. That is something that I think most people would also agree with. But overall, Florida State was your winner. Surprise team was Louisville, playing them in the ACC championship. And like I said, Florida State would go on to win the national championship. You can watch all of those games over on the SG1 Sports 2 channel. Thank you for watching this video, and give me your thoughts on these results. What do you think could actually happen? What do you think is crazy? Let me know what you think down in the comments below.